Hey guys, welcome back to Ark with GamerMom Mulfa. So today I wanted to cover what I believe are the best single player settings in Ark. So the main issue with this is that with most people, they play on servers and the servers are constantly running. So a good example of this is a vanilla T-Rex if they're breeding. If you hatch a brand new T-Rex from infancy to adulthood, it takes 96 hours. Now, I'm not going to spend 96 hours in game in order to raise a T-Rex to adulthood. So that is the reason why we have adjustable settings in Ark. So I'll just briefly go through the ones that I've changed and how they make Ark a more enjoyable experience single player. So difficulty level, you can obviously have it whatever you want. I like it at the max level, which makes dinos have 150, or you could even go into one of the any settings and set the max level to 180. So I like to do that as well. So I've left these all the same until down here. So we have the XP multiplier. I bump it a little bit just to help at higher levels. Once you get past 100, it takes a long time between each level, so I pretty much like it for that. If you can leave it default, it doesn't make that big of a difference. It's just a personal preference of mine. Taming speed, once again, you're going to be standing around a long time waiting for your dino's food stat to drain in order for them to eat whatever taming food you're using, and this ups the percentage that the food will give the dino each time that they eat. So this makes it 5 times faster or 5 times less food that it needs to eat in order to tame up. So that speeds up the process quite considerably. The next thing I've adjusted is harvest amount. This means that each resource will give 5 times more materials than normal. I want to be playing the game and enjoying building or taming new dinosaurs or doing mutations and all those sorts of things. So I don't want to be grinding out hours of getting all the basic resources just to do those things. I've also changed the water and food drain to 0.8 from 1. I like that because it seems to adjust it just enough that it's not constantly draining at 1. It feels like I'm constantly having to worry about what my food and water stats are, but with just that minor 0.2 difference, it seems to help out quite a bit. So the next thing that I've changed is I've upped the player harvesting damage, and what I've done is I've also upped the harvest health of all the nodes. That's in the advanced settings I'll cover in a moment. But what that does is the harvest health of the node ups the amount of resources that you obtain from it by 3 times. And then so I've just adjusted the player harvesting damage so that it still takes the same normal amount of time to harvest the resource node. So all these checkmark ones, I've left most of them off. I like the crosshair. The hardcore mode means you revert to level 1 on death. I don't recommend that one. So I've checked maximum difficulty. That's to ensure that it's max level 150, or if you've changed the game any settings to whatever it is there. I don't have the single player settings on. Now this is probably a lot different than what most people do. The single player settings, as it says here, as it modifies various internal statistics to support a faster-paced survival experience for a lone player or small group. I do that myself. I like having more control over those options. If you have this clicked as well as my settings, everything goes even faster. But in my experience, it's sometimes a little bit too fast, and it feels a little too, I guess, cheaty. Feels a little too much like cheating. I still want to be able to enjoy some of the difficulty of the game, but reduce the amount of time that it takes from hours to maybe 1. So the corpse locator is a beautiful thing, helps you find where you died, and then the structure placement collision lets you clip it up to the terrain, and being a builder as I am, I like to be able to make things flush and even. And so last little bit, I like to allow the platform multiple floors because, once again, I love building. And then unlimited respecs are, you can use the mind wipe tonic to respec your engram points and what you spend them on. And so this allows you to do it an unlimited amount of times. And then last on this tab, we have creative mode, which I like to leave checked because it Ark is buggy, and it is good to be able to get yourself out of a jam if you need to. Like if you've lost some resources or you're stuck floating in a rock or clipped into the terrain, it's an easy way for those who aren't console friendly to do that. So now we're going to go to the advanced tab. And I haven't adjusted a lot of these. There's just a few things that I've adjusted. So I'll just hop straight to those. I like to have non-permanent diseases checked because that makes it so, say you contract a swamp fever from a leech. If you die, you're not going to continue having that disease when you respawn. And that's what having this checked does. You can even completely prevent diseases altogether if you check this. But, so, further down. So these are where the changes really start happening. I've left the poop interval the same. The lay-egg interval is so the eggs are used to make kibble, and those are essential for high-quality taming. And so I've made it so my dinos will lay eggs more often so that I'm not going to have to sit in game for hours waiting for them to lay one egg so I have one kibble, when sometimes it'll take 10 or 20 to tame one thing at my rates. The mating interval as well is as low as possible. This will change. For example, an RG will take over a day between breeding sessions, as I guess you could put it. It has a cooldown period, but with it set to this, it only takes a couple of minutes. So that's nice. Egg hatch speed is once again saving some time so you don't have to spend forever. It still requires it to be at the proper temperature. It still takes a little bit, but it just speeds it up quite a lot. Same thing with mature speed. With balancing the cuddle interval multiplier and the baby mature speed, you're able to get the maximum imprint with the quicker mature speed, and so you have to balance those carefully. Harvest health is at 4. I like to have it 3. I'll leave it at 4. But normally I have it equal to my melee, as I mentioned earlier. The resource respawn period just affects how quickly things will respawn around you. I like to add half it just so I don't have to go searching for a bunch of new places if I don't want to. Sometimes I will still. The imprinting stat scale multiplier, I have it 3, mainly for the increased movement speed. You can leave that at default 1. Default 1 and improves your dino's stats by 20%. So at 3, it improves them by 60%, which makes it, I think I like how it makes the imprinting a lot more valuable, but once again, it's mainly for the movement speed, because it's nice to be able to get around faster. The daytime speed and nighttime speed, I have it set here, so that nighttime lasts 5 minutes, and daytime lasts 55 minutes in game. So, I like being able to see where I'm going as an arc. It gets dark really quickly, and it becomes very, very difficult to see. So I've left these few the same. I've changed the no resource radius for players and structures to half because I like having things around me. And then I've changed the crop growth speed to 3 because, once again, it takes hours in game otherwise, and I want to be able to start growing my crops quickly. So I've left all of these as default. The only one I've changed in the stats is player stats per level. I've upped the weight from 1 to 10, and that ups the amount of weight you gain per level by 100 instead of just 10. So that makes, and you can balance that out. Maybe you want to only have 50 per level, so you have the modifier be 5, and it just makes leveling more balanced for me because I don't want to be having to constantly go back and forth because I'm over encumbered. And once again, it's mainly a time-saving measure, and I'm not having a bunch of tribe mates to help me out, so I have to do it all myself. So I like having lots of weight. I have some check marks here. The passive defense hurt riderless dinos I have checked because it's more realistic. It pretty much just means that the spike walls that you can make will hurt people, will hurt the dinos even though they don't have riders. And I like the show floating damage text so I can see how much damage I'm actually doing with different dinos and tell how much I'm getting per level up, see if it's worth it, and so on. And then I like to allow raid dino feeding because I'm not going to be raiding anybody on here, and pretty much I'm only going to be taming those types of things because I like to catch them all, if you will, Pokemon reference, that I like to tame all the creatures that I can, and if once I tame something, I don't want it to just starve and die off, which is what will happen if you don't have this on. So, I believe, I've also increased the platform structure limit because, once again, I like to build, and I want to be able to build what I want on what I want to. So, that is it for the settings. Now, some recommended mods that I have. Hands down, if you're only going to use one mod, use Structure Plus. It adds a pulling system so that you're not constantly having to sort through all your boxes to grab resources. It adds new items for building that allows you to pick them up whenever. It adds a lot of helpful building tools, a lot of new building options. that are really in line with the game and match well with it. So Structures Plus, definitely hands down best mod that you can add. Platforms Plus is like a sister mod for it. It, instead of editing the or adding to the normal building materials of Ark, it adds to the tree platforms and the cliff platforms that are in Ark, and it makes them easier to build with. Then some of the other mods I have, I like having a stack mod. Once again, I don't want to spend forever going back and forth. This makes it a little bit easier to keep everything organized. It makes things way less and makes them stack higher. That's essentially what it does. So I really like that. And then the death recovery mod as well. It makes a gravestone that you can craft, that when you use it, it will recover your items from any dead bodies that have been left from you dying. So you don't have to run back and grab your items, and it's mainly a time-saving thing. It's really frustrating when you're just trying to get your gear back and you just keep dying over and over because the raptors are just camping your body, and just saves time in the long run and lots of frustration, at least for me. So these are some of the other mods that I like in here. I like the Arc Editions and the JP expansion, and the other one I'll pretty much use that I'll use sometimes and is more of a general one and not game changing is the upgrade station. It enables you to upgrade your items so that you're not having to farm loot crates for improved blueprints for your weapons or tools. So I like the upgrade station because, once again, mainly a time-saving thing. You still have to collect their resources, and you still have the challenge of doing it all, but it saves you a lot of time. So that is about it. That is all the settings and the mods that I like to use on my single player and what makes, I believe, the best single player experience that you can have. So thank you all for watching. Please leave a like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.